So welcome to episode 10 of Cowboys and Indian, the footballing show. So I'm your host, Tone, and please do hit like and subscribe. It helps with the YouTube algorithms and we need as much help as we can get, especially with these two who can't sit still. Introducing the two puppets, singing cowboy, Duggy.
Down in the dark Texas hills of El Paso, I fell in love with a Mexican girl.
Bravo. Just want to show us your t-shirts, Duggy. There you go. Very nice. Evening, Stuart. How are you doing?
I'm all right, Tom. All right, mate. Yeah.
Good man. And it's a great honour to introduce our special guest, Darren, who is a Brighton supporter. Welcome, Darren.
Welcome too.
Good to see you.
Hello to everyone.
Evening, Darren.
Evening. Who are you?
Darren.
Yeah.
Who are you? Didn't expect him there. Obviously, Darren is Stuart's mate. Yeah. And that's it. Strictly friends. No more.
Don't tell everyone.
Don't tell anyone. So, without further ado, Darren, why Brighton?
Been a lifelong Brighton fan since a kid. My dad was a Brighton fan before me. I remember from a very early age going to the Goldston and just wouldn't change. That is it. I'm just Brighton supporter through and through thick and thin. As we know, we've come up from the old Div 4 to the Premier League. We were one game away from being out of the Football League altogether 26 years ago now, 27 years ago, actually. We would have been out of the Football League. And then once you're out of the Football League, trying to get back in would be very, very hard. But we fought our way up. We've had good chairman. Bloom got involved, put money behind us. Dick Knight, we've had brilliant support through and through. And Paul Barber, our CEO, he's been brilliant, so it's the backing of the club that we've had that's probably got us through and got us to where we are. I mean, I remember going to a few games at Sittingbourne when we ground shared at Sittingbourne when we were homeless. It's quite a long way for a Brighton supporter to go to Sittingbourne. But yeah, I mean, back to the days having no club, and then finally, obviously, Prescott finally pushed it through that with Dean with our new stadium would go ahead at Falmer, So that was, and the rest is history, as they say.
Well, if you just listen quietly, you can hear a lot of envy on this call. Yeah, because unlike Brighton, we've got shit owners.
Yeah,
we've always had shit owners, unfortunately. So we from an outside perspective, we do. I certainly feel that Brighton's a really well-run club.
Yeah,
so,
we've always got a backup plan. When De Zerbi left, there was a backup plan in place, and it turns out that Herzler was it. And it's just like, where does he keep finding these sort of good backup plans? I mean, he found De Zerbi after Potter, and De Zerbi was better than Potter for us. And then suddenly De Zerbi goes and Herzler comes in as the youngest ever Premier League manager, and what does he do? He's done wonders with us really since he's come in. I mean, this season I've had no complaints. Yes, we had a bad run, but then what club doesn't get a bad run? So you can't win all the time. Yeah. But it's but no, he seems like a good manager. He likes to play attacking football, which is what you want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, we're going to come on to that.
Yeah.
Your first game. What was the first game you attended? And I'm hoping you was with your dad.
Can I even remember?
Or what's your first one you can remember? What's the first game you can remember attending?
My first game I can remember as a kid, would have to be against Norwich City.
Right.
That's the first game I can remember at the Goldston. I can't remember who won, but that's my first memory. That's got to be my first game, first memory, Norwich City. Many years ago. I probably went on. So 42 years ago, I went to my first game. So
that's about right. That's about right. Dougie, do you remember any games back in the old days of Brighton?
Yeah, I mean, I got to remember, they've just been. I mean, you got shafted a little bit like we did. I think you had a chairman called Bill Archer who sold the Goldstein Grant underneath you, didn't he? And I think your debt was only about 9 million at the time, but they sold the ground and they did it to property developers, and not 1 pence of it went back into the club, did they? And you end up going to the Withdean. Was it the Withdean, which used to be an old running track?
It was an athletics track, We went there for a while.
And Gillingham's ground, Priestfield, weren't it?
Yeah.
You had Peter Taylor as the manager then. But yeah, my abiding memory really. I don't know what me and Stu were talking about the other day. We were talking about a manager come up, and we talked about Jimmy Melia with his lucky white shoes when you got to, was it the 83 Cup final?
Yeah.
1983 Cup final. And really, you should have scored. I think Gary Stevens scored.
We should have won.
Gordon Smith. Do you remember the commentator was a guy called Peter Jones? And he said he must score, didn't he, at the last kick of the game? And I think he retired, weren't he? And,
of course, we only saying about Sunday because back then it was replays, wasn't it? Went to a replay.
Yeah, you lost 4-0, didn't you?
Yeah, we got thrashed in the replay.
And you got relegated in that season, didn't you?
Yeah. We got well and truly sunk that season, really.
I'll tell you what, mate, you was really unlucky.
Familiar?
It does sound familiar. But, I mean, we've but yeah, like I say, we fought back from there, and that's all you can do as a club, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially when you're a South Coast club, because you could only get supporters from really 3 directions. You can't get them from out at sea, can you?
I think you only stayed up, Darren, on, I think it was either goals scored on goals different. I think his name was Rene Renault, scored a goal late on, didn't it?
It was goal difference.
But they scored more goals, didn't they, Hereford? Because you beat Hereford.
Hereford, we had to get the result we did, and of course, as it was enough to keep us in the league, which, because once you go out the league, to get back into the league is
money, isn't it?
It's nigh impossible, isn't it? It's nigh impossible when you go out the league.
No, mate, you've always played good football. I like what Brighton do. It's weird with me. I like kits. Do you know what I mean? I've been going on about the Man City kit, but like you got your badge back, your old badge back, because they changed the badge for a while, didn't they?
We've never been frightened as a club to get kids involved, to get the youngsters involved, which is good. Bring players through.
It's the only way forward, isn't it?
It is.
If you look who you sold, was it Trossard to Arsenal, weren't it?
Arsenal, yeah. I mean,
was it Caicedo or something? The Chelsea, you pulled their
Chelsea.
Correa,
record.
McAllister. Hey, I never knew if he was or he was a football player with that.
But all these players that we kept digging up for next to no money, selling fortunes. I mean, the scouting is just unbelievable from us.
100% agree with you.
Player that looks we haven't played him a lot yet, but Diego Gomez looks a good player for us now. He's had a few games and he looks quite promising.
What I had written down, Darren, was this: good scouts.
Yep.
You buy at sensible prices.
Yep.
You develop the players, you showcase the players, and then you sell the players for a lovely profit.
That's about right, really. It's about
rinse
and repeat. You do it again and again and again.
But the only thing,
but it weren't always like that, Tone. Sorry, when when you had that 9 million debt, you still looked like you was going to go out. So that the owners put in 7 million, and then they set up an alive and kicking fund. Do you remember?
I remember. And, I remember vaguely players, that as a kid.
Well, the players started doing, like the what was the Women's Institute where they did a calendar with their clothes off. Do you remember? All your players did it. And plus the fans and the players released a song, which Stuart will know, went straight in at number 17 in the charts, a song called Tom Ark. Do you remember it? And you raised that money through that.
But it's...
so we kept the club in brand.
But yeah, I think the only difference is now, I think because of where we're getting to as a club, I think it showed with like Matoma, we said, point blank, he's not for sale. I think now... We're getting to that point where, because we've got a decent squad, and I think we're very happy with the squad we got, that I think players are not going to be so readily for sale, even for decent.
But Darren, listen, do you not think that's a good model? We spoke to one of the first guys we had on was a Leicester fan. And he said the end of every season, no matter how they played, Leicester, their best player got sold. And it got the money for next year. Now, if you're going to say, mate, I don't know what your owners are like, but if Matoma has to go, so you bring through the next Matoma, I think that's a good model to keep the club in a good way financially. When you've got, look at Man United, talked about
Tony
recently.
Bloom, who pumped the money in, the chairman, Tony Bloom has pumped the money in. I mean, there isn't many chairmen that when you go to an away game, Tony Bloom will be on the train with away fans. He's a multi-millionaire. He's mega rich. And he goes to an away game on the train with fans. You know, and you're talking about somebody who's worth a lot of money.
That's the difference. He's a supporter.
Because he's a supporter. He is totally Brighton through and through.
David Sullivan goes for us, but he goes kid prices, and they can put him underneath the turnstile, so he don't have to pay.
Cardiff fan anyway, isn't he, Sullivan? So
I would say he turns up in an armoured van because he'll get his head
kicked. It's nice to
in.
see somebody who's actually a fan of the club rather than
absolutely.
Because obviously most of them chuck the money in hoping for a reward out of it.
Of course. But
he's put money in, backed us, and it's because he's a Brighton fan. You know, he goes to every game, every single game away, and like I say, he go on the train with away fans to an away game.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Do you remember the guy that bought Chelsea?
I'd love to go on an away day, and David Sullivan got on the train.
Do I remember the guy who bought
getting off
Chelsea?
at the station? That's for sure.
He got killed. He got killed in an helicopter crash, didn't he? And he used to go to away games, didn't he? Do you remember? He's Michael someone.
I can't remember his name. But was it Bates?
But he went away with the.
No, it weren't Tim Bates. It was Matthew Harding.
That's it.
Matthew Harding. That was it. Yeah, he would do the same thing when he went away and stand. He wouldn't go in the director's box. He used to stand in the end.
Yeah,
chairman.
It's but yeah, like I say, I mean, we've got a good club, a good run club, that's for sure, which is part of having a good backbone, isn't it? You've got to have a good run club.
Absolutely. So Darren, in your 42 years as a supporter, I mean, fair dues to you, 42 years. That's some going. What's your most memorable game?
Blimey.
So any cup runs?
Who was in the West Ham the other season?
Got the one against Forest this year.
Might have picked one memorable game. Blimey. That's asking me, that is. Have I got a real...
You played in Europe a couple of years ago, didn't you? They must have been memorable.
Yeah, I mean, that was memorable, obviously, playing in Europe. It's a shame that at that time De Zerbi didn't get the backing that he wanted, because he wanted financial backing, and that's why in the end De Zerbi parted company with us on amicable terms, or so-called amicable terms. But I would say getting into the Premier League, I suppose, really, I mean, that was our main achievement, really. I mean, I can't even...
The golden egg, isn't it, for everybody, Darren, isn't it? I mean, you've had some fantastic managers.
To get into the Premier League and stay there. That's the thing, is it? And stay there and not go straight back down after the first year. And Houghton, he was brilliant as a Championship manager for us, but he wasn't really quite a Premier League manager. And that's why he played a bit like Moyes, really, lock-up football, trying to not lose the game, you know. But the only thing I will say about him is he kept us in the Premier League for 2 seasons. And that's what I will say about him, because another manager you could have gone down under. So we stayed there. And obviously then Potter come along, you know. But Potter transformed the club. But I think Potter, I was only talking about it on Saturday, I think Potter is he's a mid-table manager. I don't think he can do right at the top end. I don't think he's good enough to make players top end. I think he just lacks that top 5 or 10% to get him up to the higher part of the table, as he proved with us, because he got us to play attractive football, attacking football, but we just weren't scoring under him. And that was our main thing under Potter. But then I can't knock Potter, because he brought us on from Houghton. He brought us on to an offensive type rather than defensive. So he brought us along, pushed us up the table, and we went from a bottom of the bottom just outside relegation to mid to upper. You know, so I think he just can't. I don't think he's got that top quality manager, unfortunately. And I think, unfortunately, it might be the same for West Ham under Potter.
But who has, Darren, who do you think has in the Premier League? What managers would you class as top end? Look at Postecoglou, look at Amorim.
I would say, if I had to choose a manager to be top end, I would probably say Eddie Howe. I think he's a very, very underrated manager. I think he's a very good manager, Eddie Howe.
I like Eddie Howe.
I think he's a very.
I'd like to see him in the England job, actually.
Yes,
I like
absolutely. I'd have liked him to go on to that rather than go on to that, but he didn't. He didn't obviously go for it. He stayed at Newcastle, didn't he? But I think Eddie Howe could be a very good fit for England. Very good fit. So he's a very astute manager. You know, I mean, he got, what was it, Bournemouth he got sacked from, didn't he? Because he got relegated.
Yeah.
Right? But they're unfairly relegated, weren't they? Because there was a goal that shouldn't have counted against them.
Mate, don't start that. Oh.
Yeah, I know.
You've got 38 games like to stay up. You've got classing. We had this with Sheffield United.
Yeah.
You've got another 37 games. You don't just go down because of that. You know what I mean?
But I think he was unfairly sacked. He shouldn't have been sacked from going down because I don't think he really done a lot wrong as a manager. You know, but
I think managers have their lifespan, Darren, and like no matter how good you are, you know, Klopp had his lifespan. He's on. I do think Postecoglou is on thin ice.
Oh,
I mean, I always remember you got rid of Gus Poyet because of something he said in an interview after the game. What did he actually say?
I don't know. I can't even tell you what he said. But he went, and obviously, but Poyet wasn't a bad manager. He done okay for us, but he wasn't. Yeah, I mean, the trouble is, some of it, I think, is when you get managers in the English leagues that are not English, they can say something out of context the way they'd say it, but it's not really meant quite, because they say it in a different way than what we would do. You know, it can come across wrong.
Yeah, that's right. It gets lost in translation.
If that makes sense, you know, like you'll come across somebody and they'll say something to you and that you think they're being offensive, but actually they're not. It's just the way they speak, you know, whether that, you know, but I'd even forgot about Poyet. I didn't even think about Poyet as a manager.
You had Mullery, you even had Club.
Yeah, Alan Mullery, fucking hell.
Alan Mullery,
Yeah, fucking there's a blast from the past.
We had some good players over the years. I mean, one of my memories as an early player was Frankie Worthington.
Oh, mate, we've already spoke about Frankie Worthington loads of times.
Is
he the Leicester guy, Duggy?
Yeah,
he played for Leicester.
Memories, but he played for us a little bit of time. But he, he played for us a bit of time. Complete drunk, wasn't he? Complete drunk.
Mate, you just had Mavericks then, Darren. I don't care what anybody says, right? You had characters in the game. You know, I think at that time you had Rodney Marsh, Tony Curry, Georgie Best, didn't you? You know, and they just, you watched the team to watch them, didn't you? You didn't sort of like, if you didn't like another team, they'd pull out a bit of skill. We see the Worthington goal and different things.
You think about what they could do back then, and they were drinking and smoking and what have you. And today, they are more athletes, aren't they? Yeah. Let's face it, they are more athletes.
We've spoken about this before, you know.
Argued about it.
Why can't they play 2 games a week? You know, I mean, they're fit enough to play 2 games a week.
And actors, basically.
Oh, yeah. Definitely great actors.
Especially the Brentford ones.
Yeah. Actors. That's what they've got to be now.
Absolutely.
Stuart, what's your fault on Potter, Stuart, at West Ham? How do you think
I was
he's
about
doing?
to say.
My fault on Potter. See, when he was at Brighton, before he went to Chelsea, I wanted him. I was one of them that was saying, Potter should be next West Ham manager. And to be honest with you, I think he'd be all right. He will be all right at West Ham. He just... We keep getting that bullshit come out. Oh, he can only use what he's got available, but he's not using what he's got available.
What he's got available. Correct.
There's players that he could use in a total different formation, which would give us a nice, decent attacking, outlet. But at the moment, he's just, I don't know why he's playing so defensive like he is. It's, I can't work it out because I like him. I'm quite okay with him.
I was very shocked by what Stuart said about Saturday's game, how defensive he was set out. And that's not Potter. He was never a defensive manager for us. Not like that.
He's too defensive. He's so much at the moment. He's just like fucking Moyes and fucking Lopetegui at the moment. He's that defensive.
Well, it was. He said 7 at the back, didn't he? He had 5. He played those wing backs, but technically 5 at the back, 2 central defensive midfielders. And it just lacked that firepower. We could have won that game.
Yeah.
I don't get it because he loves to play football, Potter. That's one thing about him. He does love to get a team playing football.
Yes, we are conceding less goals and we are getting a bit more possession, but we're not doing fuck all with the possession.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't disagree, Stuart. Very frustrating.
It is frustrating, It is.
But boys, can I just ask you something, right? Other than Ferguson, right? Well, for whatever reason, we've got no idea why he don't play. Whether if he starts X amount of games, we've got an option to buy, or we've got to pay more money. I don't know. But other than this, is not hot. Yeah, but it's not Potter's team. I don't know how you can judge a bloke when we've still got 7, 8, 9 of Moyes' players there, and like every West Ham channel Darren, that I look on are so negative constantly. Yeah, it's a constant, like a lot of them are already saying, right, Potter out. It's a transition season. Always going to be difficult. Exactly. So, give him a couple of seasons. Who cares if we finish 4th from bottom this year? It's 3 million more if we finish above Wolves. You know what I mean? It goes up in increments of 3 million.
He didn't hit the ground running with us. He didn't hit the ground immediately with us. It took a few games for him to start to get us going, start to go forward, playing better football. Because obviously we changed from a bit like West Ham, really. We've been so defensive under Houghton, and then he had to turn them into an offensive club, which he did gradually. It's not an overnight thing. I think he will definitely turn West Ham around, but my one fear with Potter is he's not quite that top end manager.
But Darren, I don't get right. I try to keep playing him right. I'm going to get up at some point. West Ham's finishing league's positions from 1970.
Yeah.
Where does any West Ham think we've got the right to finish at the top end of the league? We've had a few seasons where we haven't got the players though.
Well, I don't know.
We always ask the same question at the end: who would you take? But I spoke to Stuart the other night and I said, who would you keep and who would you get rid of? And Stuart would get rid of half the team. And if you listen to a lot of other people, they would get rid of 7, 8 of the team. But we've made bad buys. Not us. Board have made bad buys. Thrown money away, and he's got no money.
And to be honest, Duggy, I don't think it's going to change because the boy's a little dwarf, and that fucking Brady, how much I like her. I won't say what I think of her. Because they are running the club, they are going to buy who they want, and they're going to say, here you go. And this is going to be the problem. It's never going to be Potter's team because they are going to pick the fucking players.
You'd like to think Potter would have some say over it.
Well, you'd
like to think.
But I just don't trust our owners. I don't trust them.
No. But it's the opposite of Brighton, isn't it? So we got poor scouts. We pay over the odds for some of the players. Oh, look how much we pay for Kilman. 40 million for Kilman.
We pay over the odds in wages as well. Some players.
Yeah, we destroy the players in some cases. Like Kudos in his first season, and now he's just shit, in my opinion.
You know what I mean?
And then we sell the player at a loss. Then when they go off to another team, and we're not the only one. Dougie, you mentioned the couple of players at Man United who've gone out on loan recently, and they've turned into superstars.
Yeah.
Well, he's took them up into European football, Anthony. And both Stu and I said when he wasn't doing it at Man United, we said we would both like him. I mean, he's still playing on the right at Betis, but I'd have loved to have had him on the left and a natural winger instead of inverted wingers and inverted fullbacks. I mean, the game's just gone crazy with the way it goes. But you won't get the system. And unfortunately, if you've not got good enough backs, like we haven't got the pace in central midfield, if you're going to push your fullbacks on constantly, then fullbacks ain't going to get back. So that's going to be down to the sitting CDM and your three defensive players. And if they've not got the pace or the cohesion, like I keep saying it, Mavropanos gets blamed for everything. And it's like St. Kilman never gets the blame.
By Stuart.
But they're a pairing.
No, I don't blame him. I don't blame Mavropony for everything. He's always got a fuck up in him. He did the other day. He fucked up.
He did.
I know that's Stu.
No,
but then Kilman should back him up. They're a pairing.
Yeah, but Kilman can't. Kilman cannot work with Mavropanos. He can't work with him. Kilman works better. It sounds fucking stupid. I know it does. But Kilman works better with Todibo, one side of him, and Cresswell, the other side of him.
Because Cresswell's got the experience.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what Kilman needs. He needs somebody there.
He's not a leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
He's a leader next to him because he's not one.
Todibo knows what he's doing anyway. I trust Todibo. Yeah. I think, he's going to be a good player for us. If he stays.
Well, I'm going to bring this back to Darren now because poor old Darren has to listen to his whinging West Ham rankings, basically.
He listens to it all the time from me, I tell you.
Darren, tell us about your stadium because, the Amex Stadium, and I know you got a great sponsor, American Express, big company. You mentioned Tony Bloom earlier on, great owner.
Yeah.
But you got some, that's one. I know that I heard that you guys are very hospitable to away fans when they come. Be good to know a little bit more.
To be fair, I mean, the only away fans that we're not hospitable to is obviously Crystal Palace. Sorry, Crystal Palace fans, but it never goes down well with Crystal Palace, the M25 derby. But yeah, Brighton fans always very welcoming. And probably actually the only trouble that we've ever had over the years would be with Leeds fans or Crystal Palace fans. If I'm being
that's everybody with Leeds fans. Everybody.
But yeah, I mean Brighton very welcoming. We always have been very welcoming. Yeah, okay.
Very welcoming.
Very welcoming. And Stuart and Duggy, did you go to many games down in on the south coast?
It's funny for me because when you're a kid, like your parents, well, we said before, we never had anything, did we? So your parents would always take you to a day down the seaside because you would they had no money, did they? So your day out would be getting on a beach and lying there and doing nothing all day, and your mum and dad getting you a portion of chips before you went home. You would never allowed to go on the fair. But we was always at Brighton. We'd always go to Brighton, but I didn't like Brighton because it was a pebble beach. I used to like going out swimming quite far.
That's what I like. I used to love going to Broadstairs.
Yeah, but no, I went to the
going off track together. We were talking about seasides now.
You need to push
along. About eggs. I want a word with you about eggs in a minute because you told me 3.5 minutes for a boiled egg, and it took me 4.5 minutes. 3.5 minutes. It was 2 running. 4.5 minutes. A boiled egg. A boiled egg. He gave me bum statements, Stuart.
No, that's how I like them. Nice and runny and snotty.
No, mate. 4.5 minutes.
Does it take longer in Spain? It does take longer in Spain, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's an hour forward in Spain, see? So,
Smart man.
You've got different chickens out there, haven't you?
Yeah, they're all living down Popeyes at the moment, though.
He likes the Spanish cocks.
Yeah. It depends what size of egg as well, doesn't it? You ever considered that?
Look, I like. He got me into boiled eggs because he was having one day, and he had soldiers, and I've not had soldiers since
I was a kid.
So exactly. So I said, I'm going to have some, Stu, and I made Julie go out. They look like 2 springs that you can sit a boiled egg in. You've seen it. Yeah. And he went to me 3.5 minutes, Dougie, and honestly, I got it out and I poured it out. It looked like an old yogurt. So I've narrowed it down.
Was the water boiling when you put it in?
You are wrong. You are wrong. And just admit,
was the water boiling when you put the egg in?
No, the water was cold.
Well,
you told me to put it in.
No, you got to boil the water, then you put the eggs in. 3.5.
Oh, but then the egg cracks. The egg cracks.
No, it doesn't.
No, because you can add a little salt into the water as well.
You
Little salt.
hold it in a spoon over the water for about 10 or 20 seconds. The steam rises, stops it cracking. Stops it cracking.
The cookery
It does,
program,
mate.
yeah.
It does.
Yeah, isn't it?
I'm not going to say what it looked like floating in the water when I put the egg in, but it cracked and there was this stuff floating around, this white stuff floating around.
That's the white of the egg.
Thank you, Darren.
But it's
Right,
because you haven't put it in correctly.
Darren, thank you, Darren. I'm going to bring it back to you again now. Otherwise, we're going to stay on eggs. So, you in the FA Cup quarter-final, I believe, Brighton.
Yeah.
How do you think you're going to do? Who you got next?
Oh, Nottingham Forest. Now,
7-0.
Here we go. Now, I think we're a better side than we've transformed again since we got a 7-0 drubbing by Forest. Forest have admittedly beaten us twice this season now. Earlier on the season, obviously 7-0. I hope
7-0.
I hope Dunk doesn't play because Dunk is, to my mind, he's not right. He's not been right for the last 3 or 4 months. Webster now is fully fit, and Webster's been superb again. Because Webster, I'd probably have a lot of time. I'd have Webster over Dunk because Webster is a better all-round player than Dunk. But
Stop talking to Tony like that.
But
But
3.5.
3.5 minutes. 3.5 minutes in boiling water.
I'm not Googling. I'm Googling who's left in the FA Cup.
If we beat,
I can tell you if you want.
if we can get past Nottingham Forest,
Yeah.
I think the FA Cup's ours. I really genuinely believe the FA Cup's ours. You've got Man
Hope so.
City, Crystal Palace, Preston. Who are Preston against?
Go on, Stu.
Remember
Villa.
We got Fulham Palace, Brighton Forest, Preston Villa, and Bournemouth Man City.
I can't see Villa winning the cup. I really can't.
All Man City.
I honestly believe if we Nottingham Forest are the best team left in the cup, and I think if we can get past Nottingham Forest, I think the cup's open for us. It is there for us to grab. You know, I genuinely believe, and I've believed.
Have you won a cup? Have you won a cup in the past? Have you won any cups in the past history?
No.
Wow. Okay, so it's well over.
Never won an FA Cup. Been an FA Cup final. That was it.
I went on a stadium tour with Darren, and that's one thing that was absent.
Yeah,
a trophy cabinet.
Yeah. So
I'll have you wrong there. You won the Charity Shield in 1910.
Oh, I didn't know that. I stand corrected then.
Yeah.
Okay, we won the Charity Shield in 1910. I wasn't around then, strange enough.
No. And Darren, guess what? Stuart and Duggy have both. Duggy and Stuart have both won the Egg Cup. Yep.
Do you know something, guys? Before we go any further, right? I've got to say, right, all the top teams, right, they make the League Cup make it look like it's a non-existent thing. Yeah. If you look at them Newcastle fans on Sunday at the end of that game after 70 years, was it a non-existent cup for them?
No, not at all. No,
take note. You know, all the fans want a day out. They want stuff like that.
Yeah.
And do you know something else?
Just like us with a Conference League, everybody are fucking lucky.
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
It's a trophy, you know what I mean?
It's a trophy. It's
a European trophy. Champions of Europe.
It shouldn't be.
Who cares? They had a day out.
Champions of Europe.
But it shouldn't be frowned on. However big the cup is, it shouldn't be frowned on. I guess it's a bit like Tottenham supporters. I mean, they love the Audi Cup, didn't they?
But you know something, Darren, this is another thing where Stuart and I don't agree on, right? If you look at the fair play, right, look who's left in the cup. Look who's left in the cup, right? The fair play, the financial fair play works, and it's working because it's getting other teams left in. It's not all about money. It's about promoting youth, and it's about long-term projects.
Yeah.
If we don't bring in the financial fair play, and Stu disagrees with me a lot on this, then you would have the same people at the top all the time.
I think what it means is with the financial fair play, it means that clubs like us, we have to scout around. Obviously, we're not trying to spend fortunes, but we've got good scouts that pick out fine players that are bargains somehow, right? And that's the only way that a small club can compete with one of the bigger clubs who can pretty much spend whatever they bloody well like.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and that's so that's. I think there should be some sort of financial fair play in place, but I don't, because the problem is, of course, they can sell players that are overinflated on price to cover themselves as such, can't they? You know?
Yeah, but you've got your 75% income on a 33,000 seater stadium, more or less, just under 33,000. Yeah. When Man United, yet again, their tickets went up from £40 to £60. And now he's already told them they're going up another 5%, which Tony and I talked yesterday. Another £3.30 a ticket. If you, throughout the season, if you add that up, all it adds up to is £210,000. For a club like Man United, it's nothing.
It's peanuts.
You know what I mean? And there was
Dropping
no point in doing that. They could have sold another player with $1 million on top of him. It's pathetic trying to keep on it.
I mean, they're going to build this new stadium, aren't they? Or trying to build this new stadium. I mean, Manchester.
They've got no money. They were supposed to be. Did you see the Jim Ratcliffe interview?
I saw a bit of it. I
reckon they was going to be skint by Christmas. But what they've done they've took all the money away from local stewards, from the tea lady, from the car park attendants. All the idiots earning hundreds of thousands a week. I mean, he called out Onana saying overpriced too much ways, and he called out Casemiro. They're still in the team. What confidence is that going to do for the team?
Demoralising.
I mean, that's another story. Do you know? I think it's great that hopefully Bournemouth can turn over Man City, and literally someone out the other seven can.
I can see Bournemouth definitely turn over Man City. I think that's a tight one to call between Fulham and Crystal Palace. I don't know what I'd call there.
Yeah.
Crystal Palace have been a hard team to beat. So,
especially recently.
Very hard team to beat. Yeah. I mean, you'd think that Aston Villa should get past Preston, but why?
Yeah, you never know, do you?
Why? I mean, they've been a good team throughout the FA Cup.
Anyone can beat anyone on the day, can't they?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
It's not.
But look at us in the past. We've been knocked out by the likes of Kidderminster and people like that.
The year after we won it. We
got knocked out of Europe by Astro fucking Goo. You know what I mean? For fuck's sake.
With us, I genuinely believe Notts Forest. Notts Forest is the hardest game I think we've got to face. I think if we get past Notts Forest.
He's right again. He's going to moan at me because I'm swearing. Stop. He put in the message, stop fucking swearing.
My head is scrambled. Well, it wasn't done enough to be scrambled, was it, you said?
Well, 3.5 minutes is plenty of time for it.
Scrambled.
Fucking hell, we're on eggs again.
Listen, I don't take 3.5 minutes to have a night of passion with my wife, and that's with a cigarette and a shower afterwards. I'll do that quick and boiling an egg.
She's standing right behind you, you know.
With a fry pan.
Clap.
But no, I think we'll have to see against Notts Forest, but I think we're a better team than we were. Well, I'd like to think we're definitely a better team than we were when we got beat by them. But I think that was just an off day. I mean, on our chats, some of the fans have been putting up that they really want us the first game of the season next season to get beat 7-0, because after you get beat 7-0, we haven't lost a game. So they're praying 7-0 first game of the season.
Do you agree this year, though, Darren, that they've stopped replays? I think if you're stopping replays, what's the point of going extra time? Go straight to penalties. I can't see the point.
I think you should still go to extra time, but I think probably you should have replays, really, because I think replays. I think my disagreement with not having replays, I forget about the big clubs, it's the little clubs, because that replay is a lot of money to them. For these,
that's what happened to Tamworth, weren't it, when they played Spurs?
You know, when you're talking about the big clubs, they don't want the extra game, but these little clubs, that's what they need, because the income it gives them is huge, especially because it's probably going to be televised. It's huge. you know, it can keep a little club afloat for the next season. You know, if you look at
a couple of seasons, yeah.
So I think I don't think I agree with the not having the replays really overall. I think there should be a replay, and then obviously the replay can go to.
I'm the same
because that's the way the FA Cup used to be.
Should have a replay. Should be a replay.
Yeah, I mean, mate, I love the FA Cup. I would rather win the FA Cup than the Premier League.
Yeah, so would I.
Yeah,
I would rather win the FA Cup.
So would I.
The FA Cup really, because the FA Cup really is for every club. It's supposedly the best club in the English leagues. It's the best.
It's the oldest.
Yeah, it's the best competition you could be in. I mean, if you asked any fan of any club and you asked them, would you want to win the FA Cup? They'd say yes. There's not a fan out there.
Mate, any team that's affiliated with the FA, like say you can play in a Sunday League football, you can enter the FA Cup, and that doesn't happen anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, exactly like that. You know, it's like my hometown, Horsham, right? Horsham were in the FA Cup. They got knocked out in the FA Cup, but they were in the FA Cup. You know, that was my hometown where I was born and bred. You know, well, I was about 2 miles outside Horsham, so they would be my nearest football club, the Hornets. But, you know, they played well in the FA Cup. I think they got knocked out. They got through. Who did they get knocked out again? It was televised. In the early rounds, it was televised. I can't remember who they got beat by. But it was televised. We actually went a goal up, I think Horsham did. But money for that sort of club to be involved in that sort of competition that's televised, it is massive. It's massive.
Yeah, I agree.
And the replays, again, are massive. Okay, so the big clubs don't want to play an extra game. Well, not being funny.
They should have big enough squads to be able to handle it.
And not being funny, the you've got to remember is that especially the Premier League clubs, them players, if they can't really play at least 2 games a week, well, should you really be on a pitch? Because you can't be that fit if you can't play 2 games in a week.
Terrible, mate. It's terrible life they've got on 300.
I mean, you talk about part-timers that can play 2 or 3 games in a week. You know, but
I just don't know what I'd do with 120 grand a week.
I have no idea.
I wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah.
You know?
No. Maybe get a physio.
I wouldn't be sitting here on a podcast. That's fucking right, I'll tell you.
But they're so-called athletes and they can't play, they reckon, twice in a week. It's not right. I mean, I don't see what the problem is with playing 3 times in a week, really.
I'll be out in Spain annoying Duggy constantly.
Yeah, neighbour. Next door neighbour.
Yeah.
So, Darren, just to keep us on track. Yeah. So normally Dougie asks a question at the end of each one of our shows. If there was one player you can take from West Ham, what would that player be?
Dafty Bowen, I think.
Everybody.
Everybody.
So, I was going to say Suchek.
I think it would have to be Bowen.
We had one fan who said we'll take Suchek. You know who that was?
Yeah,
that was Tommy, wasn't it? Yeah. Tommy from Everton.
But Darren, can you tell us anything about Ferguson? Have you actually seen him playing like full games?
Ferguson,
because we've never seen him play.
Ferguson got injured. Obviously, now it was a beginning part of last season, right? Say 23, 24. He got injured. Now, he got injured in the first game of the season. He was out for 5-6 weeks, come back. And since he come back, very poor. Last season, he was playing bit parts now and again. And I felt he was injured every time he come on the pitch. Never looked right. Never wasn't showing his pace again. Didn't look right at all, and they were playing him. And then, hey presto, right at the end of last season, oh yeah, he's got an ankle injury. He's going for an operation. Well, no shit, Sherlock. You know, he was definitely playing injured. Obviously, from our point of view, the ankle injury, the ankle operation, did it work? Well, we don't know. But when he was playing for us early part of the season, before obviously he moved to West Ham, when he played the games, he wasn't showing pace. He wasn't showing nothing that he had 2 seasons ago. Nothing. Absolutely nothing compared to what he had. But Stuart did say there was rumours that he didn't want to play for Brighton. You know, but then if he didn't want to play for Brighton, you'd think he'd be playing as good as he could to showcase himself, to get away from Brighton. You know, so surely a footballer wants to showcase himself. You know, it doesn't make sense for a player to go out there and not play to the best of their ability, because after all, what club's going to want him then? You know, whether he wanted to go with, I mean, obviously Potter, maybe he's a big fan of Potter and he wanted to go back to Potter because obviously Potter took it, you know, had him when he was young. So whether that's the case, but I still think Ferguson is carrying an injury. I still think every time I see him on a pitch, he doesn't look right. Doesn't look right. I'm sorry.
We had it with Carroll. We had it with Carroll for ages. We had it with Skamaka. We just can't buy a forward that can play.
The trouble is when a player picks up an injury and then has an operation, it's not all the time they come back as good as they were, is it? You know, I mean, let's face it. 2 seasons ago, they were talking about Ferguson being the next £100 million player, and he's definitely not worth anything like that now. You know,
Nor's Kudus, mate. Nor is Kudus.
No. I'll tell you, mate, I'd give my right arm to have a striker who could play at least 1 month without going down injured.
20 goals a season. You want a striker that can get you 20 a season.
I mean, we haven't. I mean, Pedro, I suppose, is the closest we've got. See, I like Pedro, but my only problem with Pedro is the simulation that comes into his game. I'm sorry, I've said it from early.
Guys,
yeah.
You're diving, not interesting. I'm not involved now.
But it is simulation, and the problem is when you get a player that does that, to get a free kick, get a penalty when you probably deserve one, you don't get it. You know, but Pedro, I suppose, is the closest. He's got to be the closest thing we've got to obviously an out-and-out goal scorer.
Welbeck can't too bad.
Apart from Welbeck. I mean, Welbeck, you know, he can't play a full game now, but Welbeck's a great sub. He's a great
he's a good player.
Comes in.
Yeah.
He scored some good goals recently.
I'm hoping that March seems to be off the scene again. Well, he's been on the bench a couple of times, but March, he come on a couple of games ago, but March, I don't think he's got back to obviously where he was, but Solly March, you know, I think he's one of the best players we've ever had, you know, for what he'll give you. He'll give you 110% every time he puts on that shirt and goes on the pitch. And that's all you can ask of a player, really.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, sometimes to me, it's not about how good that player can be in scoring goals and all that. It's what they give to that team. If they give everything to that team, that to me is the best player.
100%. 100%, mate.
It is the best player on the pitch, and you know when March, for me, when Solly March comes on the pitch, he will bust a gut. He will give your team everything he's got, everything, you know, and that to me is what footballers should be about. But as we know, they're not. You know, it's you know, sulk, don't they? I mean, they're just, you know, I mean, they're over dramatic, etc.
Yeah.
I mean, we could go down the holding faces, but that's probably another.
That's another podcast entirely, that is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I've been shot.
Yeah.
My face, I've been shot in the face. And they touched his kneecap, you know what I mean? He's rolling and rolling. Was was watching the other day? It was a Gooners, wasn't it? When he rolled off the pitch.
I didn't watch. No,
Chelsea.
it was
Arsenal-Chelsea.
Yeah, Arsenal-Chelsea.
He rolled off the pitch, didn't he? Gooner rolled off the pitch. Yeah. And then Arteta leant down and told him to roll back on.
And he rolled back on
rolled back on the pitch.
So the play got stopped.
Oh, my God.
Stop the game, don't they?
I mean,
otherwise the ref wouldn't stop the game because he was off the
game.
pitch.
Yeah.
It's just
shit.
It's come into the game too much now. And I think it's definitely ruining the modern day game.
I think the ref should have booked Arteta. Should have booked him. Yellow carded him.
I think there should be powers. I know VAR can't step in for a yellow.
I can't shoot him. I don't like him anyway.
VAR can't step in for a yellow, but I think when there's simulation,
3.5.
When there's simulation, I believe that when these players go down holding their face and there's no contact with their face, I believe VAR should step in and say, referee, go and give him a yellow card now, instant, or even a red, and then you'll stop it, won't you?
Yeah, or throw him in the sin bin.
Yeah.
If Stick them in there, stick them out of the pitch.
I mean, could they do the same as rugby? Could they do something like that?
There was talk of that, wasn't there? Bringing in the sin bin. There was talk about it, but
Trying out power.
He's got to plug his ass.
No, I've just got myself a new egg timer.
He's charging dildos.
3.5 minutes, yeah.
Talking of egg timers.
3.5 minutes, Dougie.
3.5.
That's all right. I had to plug the thing in.
It's 3.5, yeah.
Get out of it. It's 4.5.
To boil an egg.
It's 8 minutes.
Soft boiled is 4.5.
This is on egginfo.co.uk page, right? And it says how long to boil an egg. 8 minutes for firmly hard boiled.
If you boil an egg for 8 minutes, it will be as stiff as my knob when I
It's down 4 minutes.
Not very stiff.
I'd say it's 4 minutes. So I can't. What the 4 minutes one?
Yeah, 4 minutes. Stu, 4 minutes slightly set yolk. Yeah,
set white. Yeah. You don't want to set yolk.
No, so Stuart likes it.
No, you want to put your soldiers in it.
Yeah, and 4.5 minutes.
That's 3 or 4.
Yeah, see,
5 is medium cooked.
So you didn't put it into boiling water. See, that's the problem. You put it into cold water, didn't you?
It makes them crack, Darren.
It doesn't.
Not if you do it right. Stuart said, hold it above, let it steam. Salt in the water. You must have salt in the water.
Yeah, you got to put salt in the water.
Yeah, must have salt.
Yeah.
Nah, don't put no salt in the water.
Nah, well, that's why it cracks, see? It's not cooking it right. It's not cooking it right.
I'll just
rush. Bloody spot news.
Right, where's my mouse gone? Right. Glad we finalised that dispute.
Spanish.
So we're coming up to the hour. Darren, appreciate you coming in. Any last words from yourself? Any last comments?
Good luck to West Ham. Good luck to all teams out there, except when they're playing us. And maybe please beat Nottingham Forest in FA Cup and go from there. So
there you go.
Been a nice chat. Been fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to have you on.
Yeah.
Top man. We'd love to have you back.
Yeah.
Love to have you back, especially
I look forward to coming back.
Especially if
when
you
we
get to the
them.
FA Cup final.
Especially when we win the FA Cup. Or we get to the FA Cup.
Hope so, mate.
Yeah.
Hope so.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, have us on when you beat us. Yeah.
I'd like to see a Brighton Palace final, actually.
Oh God, that would have some real animosity. That would.
Yeah, I know, would you?
Brighton Palace.
I don't care who plays, as long as it ain't Man City.
Well,
yeah, of course.
I don't think Man City are good enough to win the FA Cup, really. I just don't think they're. Yeah, I mean, we messed up on Saturday. We should have beaten them, but we didn't.
Yeah,
we missed our chances, and that was it. But I think the winner's out of us and Nottingham Forest. I think whoever wins that game wins the FA Cup.
Wins the Cup. Yeah, absolutely.
That's my prediction. So hopefully it'll be us.
There you go, people. Top tip: get down the boogies.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, just to close the show out. So, if you'd like to appear on one of our shows, any support up and down the leagues, there's our email address. Drop us a note. We'd love to have you on. We're pretty harmless, as you can tell, but we'd love to have you on. Thank you, Dougie. Thank you, Darren, once again.
Yeah,
Stuart, true gentleman, would you like to sign us out?
Certainly will, my friend. Take care, stay safe, and stay lucky, my friends.
Come on, you irons.
I can't do that.